I'm Lauren Lavera. I play Sienna in Terrifier 2, and you're watching Pop Culture with Pat.
Hey guys, welcome back to Pop Culture with Pat. Today we have another special guest on the show. She's playing Sienna in the upcoming Terrifier 2. Thank you, Lauren, for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
So to start things off, kind of from the beginning, what made you, decide you wanted to pursue acting in the first place?
Well, that's a very good question. I always performed as a kid. I lived with my grandma and my mom growing up. And I would, there was like this place in the kitchen, and I would jump out from the corner and be like, presenting Lauren! And I would like do something from I Love Lucy, because I'm like obsessed with Lucille Ball. And I'd tap dance or do a comedy skit or something. So I was always performing, but I never really pursued it in theater in like school, like in grade school and stuff, because like I wasn't a very popular kid. I cared a lot about my academics. I was a dork. And so I thought like, oh my God, if I did theater, that'd be like social suicide. I'm not going to do that. So instead I did martial arts, and I thought it'd make me tougher. I thought it'd make me cooler. And also I just loved martial arts, but I really fell in love with the performance aspect of martial arts. So I was like, oh man, I just really love to perform. And I took some classes in high school, and I took some classes in college. But when I had graduated college, I had a really great white collar job being an optician, and I was like selling high end eyewear like Gucci, Dolce Gabbana, Cartier, and I was making really good money. It was a good job. And that same year, my grandma was on her deathbed. And one thing, the reason why it inspired me so much was because she wanted so badly to be a dancer. She would constantly talk about Fred Astaire and Rita Hayworth, and instead she had 6 kids. And it's because, she grew up, she was born in like 1932, and she grew up in a different time. So I guess in that time it was more reasonable for a woman to just have kids. So she didn't get to pursue her dream. And I just remember being by her side, and I was like really close to her at her deathbed, and her surrounded by all these kids, and thinking to myself, like, she never got to pursue her dream, which was to be an actor / dancer. And she didn't even try. So I was like, I don't want that. I don't want to be at my deathbed surrounded by family is nice, but I'd rather try to pursue the thing I want to do more than anything. So shortly after that, I quit my job, and I started taking like acting classes seriously. And I started auditioning shortly after that, and I've been working ever since. That was like 3 years ago.
Wow, that's one. It's a very inspiring story, but it's quite different, from a lot of people where it's like, oh yeah, they start taking acting classes and stuff like that from like a young age. Like you didn't, like you said, you didn't really take it serious till you were a little bit, older. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, I had to do it. You don't know what's going to happen after you die, right? So just in case there is no reincarnation option, like you might as well do what you can in this life. So
yeah, and you just went for it. So that's awesome. Now, how did, as far as Terrifier 2, the upcoming film that you guys are still, working on, I know you mentioned you just like wrapped up. How did you land the role of Sienna, and what was the audition process like for her?
Yeah. So the traditional way, my agent reached out to me and was like, "Hey, there's this cult classic horror film," and I was like, "Okay." And then he mentioned the name, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I've heard of that. Like I've had people tell me about it." And I looked it up, and I was like, "Yeah, I've definitely seen this, like on Netflix." But I haven't watched it. I saw like the poster on Netflix, and he was like, "Do you want to audition for it?" I was like, "Sure." And I read the breakdown. And when I read the breakdown, I was like, I don't know if I'm this person. So instead, I sent it to a friend of mine, and we're very similar in type. Like she's dark hair, beautiful young woman, younger than me, actress. She's been doing it for a little bit now. So I sent it to her, and I was like, hey, listen, like I think you would probably get this part. I'm still going to audition, but you would probably get it. And she was excited. I'm not even sure if she did audition. But anyway, I got the call back. And I was like, okay. And basically, my first audition and second auditions were done here. This is where I do my self tapes at home. And they wanted a self taped audition, which basically they send you the lines. You have a reader with you at your house. You get a friend or something, and you do the audition. And I did it. I got a call back, and I did it again, and I got another call back. I was like, okay, I guess I'm doing something they like. So then Damien brought me in for a chemistry read, and I did a chemistry read with Allie, who plays the part. Casey, who plays the part of Allie. I was getting confused. And Elliot, who plays the part of Jonathan. I didn't know I had the part at this point, but that same day, Damien told me, you got the part. And I was like, great. And that's it. That was August of last year.
So I was like, yeah. Once you start, I feel like once you start getting a couple callbacks, you're probably starting to feel like, okay, there's a pretty good chance I probably got this. Like, obviously, you don't want to be like, oh, I got this like in the bag. But I mean, after a couple like callbacks, it's like, okay, there's definitely like something here.
Trust me, I've definitely had a ton of callbacks where I would go into the room and I would see like famous actresses like that kind of look like me, resemble me, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna get this. And that at the final stage. So obviously they liked what I was doing, but it just didn't end up. So there's always that possibility of me not getting the part. But I felt pretty confident about this one because I knew that I was reading with other actors, and a chemistry read is usually a good sign. It's like, okay, they're really considering you.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And it's crazy because the character of Sienna has already generated like this crazy like amount of buzz for this film, and like we haven't seen it, like obviously at this point we've seen like the trailer and stuff like that, but she's gotten like a ton of buzz. Just like, I guess, why do you think that is, in your opinion?
I got a clue. You know what? I think it has a lot to do with the costume. The costume's very cool. Damien designed it. It all came from his brain. It's insane. And also, I think it has a lot to do with the teaser trailer. I think it was really well edited. I think it was really well made. And Damien did all that too. I don't know. I think people really take to stronger female characters. And that's one thing I'd like to mention. I mean, Sienna is really strong, but you'll also find out that she's very weak. And that's what I like about her. Kind of similar to Ripley. In fact, that was one thing that Damien, like, he wanted me to watch Alien. There were certain movies he wanted me to watch to get, pull inspiration from. And that was one thing that I loved about Sigourney Weaver in that movie. Like, she really embraces her weaknesses. And so does Sienna in a lot of ways. So, I think we've only really scratched the surface of who Sienna is, and people don't really know yet.
No, what you're saying too, I think that it makes the characters more interesting too, because like obviously it's it's always cool if you have a character that's like really badass and everything, but to a degree, if that character, if it seems like they don't have any flaws, then I find it's hard to connect to those characters sometimes. So it's always good when, like you said, that she seems very like badass, but she also has like her like weaknesses like here and there too.
She's going through some shit. It makes her really human, and that's what I liked about her. She has a lot of problems in her life, and she's kind of recovering from something pretty traumatic, and I really connect with people like that in movies. So I agree.
Yeah. 100%. And now going into Terrifier, the first film, so I actually didn't see this like when it like first came out. I ended up seeing it like, I think like it was on like Netflix, and I had heard things about it. Heard it was pretty graphic, especially one specific scene in particular. So, and I know like you can't go into to details obviously because spoilers and stuff like that. But would you say that Terrifier 2 surpasses the first movie in that aspect?
In terms of gore, in terms of graphics, definitely. Absolutely. And I know exactly what scene you're talking about. And whoever has seen Terrifier, who is watching this, knows what scene you're talking about. Yeah. And I think that was Damien's biggest concern going into the second one. He's like, how am I going to top this? And I really think that he did, with more than one kill. They get pretty creative, and pretty extreme, and there are definitely situations that you would not want to be in. There was a couple months ago that Damien and I were like texting back and forth like medieval forms of torture. Like these are the conversations we have. We're talking about like impalement, and there were some that he told me like that I never even heard of. And I'm just like, dude, you are sick. So he has a creative mind, and he probably has done a lot of research on that kind of stuff. So you
Yeah.
won't be disappointed.
I'd say you definitely have to get pretty creative with that stuff. And like you said, with that first movie, a lot of people seeing that, and they're just like, yeah, how do you top that? So, I mean, from the trailer itself, I kind of got that vibe, but that's cool that, you're able to at least like say that. Cause like I said, I know you can't really go into like a lot of the details. Can you just talk a little bit about your experience working with Damien on Terrifier 2?
Yeah, absolutely. He's incredible. He like very quickly became one of my favorite people, and it's not just because he's innovative, and it's not just because he's a brilliant creator, and he really works hard, but it's also because he's just a genuinely nice person. He's very patient, and he really takes everybody's 2 cents in consideration. He really listens to his cast and crew, and not just the actors, but the PAs, the personal assistants, and whoever's around. He's a very empathetic person, so he's very easy to work with, especially in those long days into the night, into the morning again, where I think most directors would be on edge because everything is on their shoulders, and this is Damien's passion project. So he's doing everything. So the fact that he was able to go through it with ease and calm still blows my mind. Like he was always even tempered. He never snapped at anybody, like never. And that never happens on set. And I mean, understandably, like if you see a director freaking out, you're like, okay, like he or she is going through a lot.
Yeah.
But I don't know, he was just so easy to work with him. So I hope to continue to work with him on different projects in the future, whatever he has going on.
I think, like you said, it makes it so much easier when the director, when they're at ease, it just makes everyone else's job easier because then it kind of has that trickle down effect. Like if they're stressed out, then everyone else kind of starts getting like stressed out. So
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. And yeah, he was able to make us all feel at ease just by coming to set with that energy. And I think if you're the captain of the ship, if you're kind of giving that energy to the people you're interacting with, it makes people a little bit less stressed.
exactly. And now, what as far as like the rest of the cast and crew, just like what was your experience, working with everyone else like on the film?
Yeah. Well, Dave is amazing. He's just like most people know. He's just a very theatrical person. He's a character. So funny and ridiculous. Like he's just a goof. I loved working with Dave. We still talk constantly. Same thing with the other actors. There's so many actors people don't even, so many characters people don't even know about yet that were just unreal. They were brilliant. Like there was such depth to they brought such depth to these what you would think would be seemingly tropey characters. You would think that there would be like, I don't know, for example, the douchey jock. And because we kind of have a character similar to that, but there's so many layers behind that one character. Same thing. There's another character who she's, a little bit ditzy, but like still so much depth underneath. And it just blows my mind. I had so much fun with every actor. I mean, even Elliot, who's like a teenager, he worked so hard. And we just had great chemistry from day one. And even the crew, I mean, everybody worked so hard, from the PAs to hair, makeup, to wardrobe, to the person who pulls focus. Like we really became a family. Like we still talk. We have like group texts that we all keep in touch as much as possible. We'll try to Zoom or do the house party thing every once in a while, and we get together whenever we can safely. So I'm so fortunate. We're all really fortunate to have had this group of people collectively work together.
And obviously, you guys, ran into, well, with everyone else, the COVID situation. So how did that affect, stopping, for a little bit, going back now and filming, some scenes? What was it like going back to set, like, I guess, like afterwards?
Yeah. So actually, we were in the middle of filming when COVID started, like mid March. We were in upstate New York in Canajoharie, and it really has like the population of two in this town. So we felt super safe. We honestly could have just stayed there and continued filming, and we'd all be fine. But we're like, no, we got to go back to our families and get toilet paper. But yeah, so we all left in the middle of it, and coming back, I actually came back to set not for myself to work, but to see Elliot, who plays Jonathan, my little brother. To see his last day, and it was just crazy because we were doing the safety precautions. Everybody was wearing the masks, everybody was trying to keep a distance, so that was kind of jarring at first. We're like, okay, this is really a new world, and it's a skeleton crew now, like bare bones. Not as many people can show up, so it's not that kind of, it's nice to have a lot of people around. You all kind of feed off of each other's energy, but with only like 5 or 6 people, kind of scattered around the area, it was different. It was definitely jarring. Still doable, just challenging, and maybe not as fun, but still a good time to see those people. Other than that, I would say it's the same. It's just you have to have that extra set of like new things you have to keep in mind, like having your hand sanitizer, having your mask, like, running out of the car without your mask, which I'm sure you do as much as I do, like constantly going into like shops. I'm like, shit, I forgot my mask. Same thing. So, there's just all these new habits we have to now learn. But it's the same. It's just a little bit more annoying, and that's it.
Yeah. No, and I definitely agree. Like, especially in something like that with, with acting and stuff, I can imagine it's like you're so used to just, doing these different things on set and stuff like that, and then you're just like, oh, I can't do this like anymore. I can't go this close to these like people. So, but I'm sure it just kind of like strengthened that bond with everyone like on the set too, with like, with this like situation, you guys, I'm sure you said messaging and stuff, Zooming and all that. So
that's true. Now we have even more of an excuse to see each other. I mean, I feel like in every situation I've been in working on film crews and sets, we always have it in our minds that we're going to hang out. It's like, oh my God, that was great. Let's hang out. And then it never happens. But now, like, we have no excuse. We have Zoom. Like, we could just see each other, and we're more inclined to want to do it because we don't really have to go anywhere. Like, even if we're feeling lazy, we're like, well, let's just talk for like 10 minutes over the phone or over Zoom. And it is nice in that sense. You're right about that.
And now, as far as, so we're going to go into some kind of like fun questions, because with it being, basically like the middle of October, which is like crazy. I can't believe we're already like 2 weeks until like October, but figured, and I know from what I've seen, you're a big horror, like Halloween fan. So get into some fun questions here. So who would you rather face off against in real life? Art the Clown or Pennywise?
Definitely Pennywise, and here's why. Art the Clown is ruthless, and there is a bit of that supernatural aspect about him that we're not really sure what's going on. But I feel like as long as I knew how to insult Pennywise, I'd be fine. Like, I could just like tell him, I'm not afraid of you, and he'd be like, ah. But with like Art the Clown, like he'll just chop me up in little pieces. So I think I'll take my chances with Pennywise. Art the Clown, I'd rather not get into his business.
That's fair enough. Now, as far as, do you have any, or how do you prepare for the fall Halloween season? Do you have like any traditions that you do every year?
Okay, well, I, for the most part, in my house, keep a lot of my Halloween decorations up. I try not to do it as much outside because I don't know. I feel like my neighbors are judging me. I also, there's a lot of kids on the street, so I'm sure they'll wreck my very beautiful Halloween decorations. But I do also try to keep my Halloween decorations up outside up until like Christmas time, because I really push it as much as I can. But other than that, I am so basic. As soon as the pumpkin spice flavors come out, I'm like on top of it. Whatever is associated with fall and autumn, I'm like, yeah, I want that. But I try to watch like Halloween themed everything, like starting in like June and July. I'm like, all right, like it's close enough. Like we can get started. We can do things. So I'll watch like Treehouse of Horror on The Simpsons, like The Simpsons Halloween specials. They're so good. They're so good. I'll like start that in June and get myself in the mood. And I'll just watch a bunch of scary movies. That's what I really did this entire quarantine. Like rewatch scary movies. I rewatched all of the Evil Deads. I rewatched the Evil Dead show like over again, and watched like new scary movies. Now I'm, surrounded by these beautiful people associated with the horror community. And I'll ask people like, what do you watch? What do you watch? And I'll get all these great ideas for scary movies I've never even heard of. So that's what I've been doing this entire spring into summer, and now into autumn. So that's really what I do. Other than that, pumpkin ain't anything. I'll start carving pumpkins right away. I'll start putting up Halloween decorations. I'll just play Halloween music or Halloween related music as much as possible. I'll just try to engulf myself in the holiday so I can really experience it to the fullest.
Oh, I am the same thing. It's crazy. I've thought about do I like the holiday itself or do I like the build up more? And I think honestly, like I love Halloween, but I probably like the build up more because then you get to the day and you're just like, well, like Halloween's like over after this. And I love, the other holidays too. So, but yeah, I definitely like the build up and the same thing with you. I'm starting super early in the season.
Can I just say I 100% agree. I went to Michael's yesterday, the arts and crafts store, to get some more Halloween things, and I already noticed like most of it's gone and Christmas just like vomited everywhere, just green and red. And I'm not a huge Christmas fan. I can appreciate it, but like Halloween is like my heart and soul. And it just broke my heart. I was like, what is happening? It's October 7th. Like I was just like, and so I agree. Like I was even thinking, like as I was walking out, I was like, I wish it was August again because that's when everything like comes out and that's when I start to get excited. And so I agree. It's definitely the build up that's half the fun. It's like the journey to Halloween, which is the best part.
No, it's super annoying. Like I said, I do like, the rest of the holidays, but it's like, could we at least get to October 31st before we start putting out all that stuff? And I understand it's retail and I did that for like a while, but it's like, come on, let us enjoy this time of the year.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I 100% agree.
So, and I'm very lucky. I have a fiance who's very, she let me decorate like the house like pretty early this year. So I'm like, yeah, I'm super lucky because I know some people can be like, you're not doing it till like, like when I was at my parents were like, not doing it until October 1st or whatever, or you're not decorating or anything like that. So.
Oh, definitely. When I was living with my parents, it was the same thing. Like, I was like, can we just do like a haunted house? Like, I wanted so badly to have the scariest house on the block. And it was just like too much work for them. They were like, no, like, it's fine. We'll just put a haystack outside. And I was like, what? You're breaking my heart. So I totally feel that. That's great. She's a keeper.
And we've actually, that's reason why I'm marrying her. One of the reasons.
One of the main reasons.
One of the reasons. But yeah, it's actually funny you mentioned that too. Like at my parents, we did like a haunted house that went into like the backyard and stuff like that. So it's funny because even though, at the time my mom that she was kind of like, oh, it has to be done by like October. She would like give me suggestions for like, oh, this would look cool for the yard, like this and stuff like that. And I'm like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, secretly you really like this, even though you're not doing it until like October. But so yeah, now we, living with like my fiance and stuff like now. So different locations. So I want to start that up back again. But that was a lot of fun doing like a haunted house and everything like in the backyard and stuff like that.
That's a really great tradition now you can bring into your new intermediate family.
Yep. Yeah,
weird that haunted kind of attraction. And since she's cool with it, it sounds like
we're good to go.
You're made. You're good.
Now, being a big fan of the Halloween holiday, do you have any favorite Halloween memories from growing up? You kind of like mentioned like a little bit, like like watching stuff, movies and stuff like that. But
oh yeah, You know what? I would keep my Halloween costume on the entire month of October. And I was a witch more often than not. Like, I loved being a witch. And just the idea of magic and like being able to fly on a broomstick was just so enticing to me. And I would have like the nose and everything, and I would go around the house like, yeah, and I just loved it. But probably the trick or treating. Like, I tried to trick or treat like up until my late teens as much as I could. Yeah, right.
Same.
How can you not? So, like, I kind of have a bit of a baby face, so I could like pull it off for a couple years. But then after a while, like, people at the house be like, "You're a little too old. Like, I'll give you some candy, but get out of here." So I had to start going trick or treating with the kids I would babysit, and like just like have an extra one. Like, oh, this is for their sister. So yeah, trick-or-treating was probably my favorite. It was just so fun. Like, I don't know, seeing all the decorations of the people. I feel like when I was younger, people cared a little bit more about decorations, or maybe it's just a perception. I could be wrong, but I feel like I was more like the places around my neighborhood had more extravagant like blow ups, or more skeletons outside. I don't see it as much. Maybe it's just my block now, which is like so sad, but that's what I probably miss the most.
Now I have to ask, because I feel like most people that I like tell this to now, was trick or treating always at night for you?
It was, yeah.
Because for me, actually growing up for a while, because I'm here in New Hampshire, and we actually, at least in the area where I am, it was during the day for many, many years. It was from like 1 to 4 in the afternoon. And I just used to hate it. And then like finally at one point they changed it to night. And I'm just like, I used to just be like, why? Like, why do we have it during the day? You're not supposed to trick or treat during the day.
That's so interesting because like you're in school. I mean, most of the time Halloween falls, on a school day because
they usually do it on a Sunday. It was I think it was like the Sunday usually before like whatever Halloween like that day fell on, so it would be like the Sunday before they would do it like the 1 to 4. So not even on Halloween sometimes.
Hey, like what? The government would tell you like trick or treat on this day?
Yeah, it was just like, and then finally we
Weird.
had it at night, and it was just like, thank you. This year they actually put out a poll to be like, oh, do we want to move it back to like during the daytime? And I was just like, no, don't do this. But
That's interesting. I've never heard of that.
yeah, it was wild, and that's why I wanted to ask you, because like anytime I've talked to other people like located in other parts of the country, they're always like, yep, always at night, always on Halloween. So yeah, no, we used to have it like not even on Halloween and during the day.
That's so interesting. The best part about Halloween is like, in the day watching the scary movies, like Halloween playing on repeat, the 1978 version, and maybe sometimes 3 and 4 and 5 would play as well. And I would watch that as I was getting ready. And then I'd go out. Like, that's the best part.
Exactly.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry
Yeah,
that was forced onto you as a child.
Yeah, so
That's
we
traumatic.
made up for it, eventually. But yeah, it was very disappointing. And
So interesting.
speaking of horror movies, I know you mentioned some of them already. So, what horror movies had made the biggest impact on you or scared you the most?
Oh, yeah, definitely Poltergeist. And the main reason is so that was probably one of the first horror movies I watched as a kid. And the thing that scared me the most was that clown doll.
Yeah.
Like, it just petrified me. For the most part, Poltergeist didn't scare me up until that part. And
Interesting.
I got a lot of like clown and porcelain dolls gifted to me as a child, and like looking like that, and I had to get rid of them. Like, I was like, it will come to life and it will kill me, and I just couldn't. Other than that, that's like the first thing that comes to mind. Maybe, which is kind of like, but The Grudge scared me for a long time. The scene with the hair, with
Yeah.
the hand, like I was very scared of getting a shower after that. I was like, there's somebody. Oh, and 13 Ghosts. 13 Ghosts scared me. I mean, I loved it, but I really thought that like there were ghosts in the house I couldn't see, and that the Jekyll was going to like scratch me,
The
or that
Jackal.
kid lady was going to stab me in the shower. I don't know. So yeah, probably those.
No, the Jackal's definitely fair enough. That's a movie that it seems like lately I feel like I see a lot more people talking about it, because it was kind of a movie that I feel like it came out in the 90s, early 2000s. but like I feel like I see a lot more people like kind of starting to talk about it, which is cool. I
Yeah.
know for me, one of the ones that comes to my mind like right now is definitely the original like Pet Cemetery.
Mm,
That have you
yeah.
ever seen it?
I have. It's been
Okay,
a long time though. Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah. But
movie,
that's yeah. I remember it being creepy.
and it wasn't even like I mean now you get older and some of the other stuff about it's like creepy, but I think the biggest thing for me was the animals coming back to life. That
Yeah.
just like really like and even like today something about it just really just creeps me out, and there's other aspects of it like too as well as I've gotten older, but that movie for some reason like no matter when like I love it, it's like one of my favorites, but it always creeps me out like whenever I watch that movie.
Yeah, it's also sad.
Yeah,
Like, especially you think of like a pet like coming to life. You're like, no, it's
yeah,
just awful.
no, so that trying to think of like what else as far as like scary, it's very hard to scare me. A recent movie that actually kind of creeped me out, I don't know if you've ever seen The Babadook.
Oh, I love the Babadook. It's one of my favorites. It's one of my favorite horror films.
Yeah, that movie, the first time that I watched it, and it came out not too long ago. That I think it's because it's more of a psychological like kind of horror. And I remember I watched that movie and I ended up going to bed, and I one of the first times that I've had to leave the lights on because I was actually like really creeped out.
Guys, like in the corner because it's like shadowy
Yeah,
or like gonna come up on the ceiling. Yeah, totally. No, the Babadook definitely freaked me out, and his like voice,
yeah, that
Babadook.
bad.
Yeah, like it's so creepy. No, I totally agree. And such a good movie. The acting is superb from the child to the mother. They're both amazing. But yeah, no, very, very creepy. I totally agree.
Yeah, so those are a couple of mine. As far as who are some of your favorite horror icons, and it can be actors, characters, directors, whoever comes to mind.
Yeah, well, definitely Laurie Strode. Well, Jamie Lee Curtis. I don't know if Linda Hamilton would be in that category because like some people might call her a final girl, some people call Terminator horror, but she kind of does it for me.
That's fair enough.
Oh God, so many though. Oh my God, I don't even know. Bruce Campbell. I
That's
mean,
a solid
like
choice.
you can't you can't not. Oh, Kane Hodder, who I met like at a hayride as a child.
Oh, there you
And
go.
I was too scared to get a picture with him because I knew who he was. So my mom got a picture with him. So you just see my mom with like these big 90s hair, and like he's just holding her like this and she's just like smiling.
That's
And I mean, I
awesome.
just had a really good experience with him. And so I'll never forget that. But what else? Oh, I don't even know. Yeah, I'm sure it would come to my mind. Anthony Hopkins
Yeah,
from
Silence of the
Silence of the Lambs. I mean, he's just brilliant, and just the fact that he's creepy, but also like polite and refined, and I think that's what makes it even more like creepy. You're like, oh, do I
yeah.
want to have a sip of wine with you, or do I
Am
want
I terrified of you?
or should I be terrified? Yeah. So yeah, no, probably those people. If I
Which
think of any others, I'll let you know.
It's
But those are the ones
crazy
I know.
as far as what you were saying before too, just with the COVID situation and being able to watch like some new movies. Isn't a new movie obviously, but and some people like I'm a big like horror fan. I had never seen The Silence of the Lambs until like this year. So I finally actually just saw it for the first time. So I've gotten to see some movies too that I just never got the chance to sit down and watch, and that was one of them. And so I totally agree with the whole him being very polite, but at the same time he's gonna like eat your face off. So yeah, it's been fun to kind of visit some movies that I haven't gotten the chance to like before.
That's great. Yeah, it's definitely one I'm happy that you saw. Yeah, with him, you just know that he's smart. He's not just a brute like slasher serial killer. He's smart, like he's tactical, and he'll find a way to get you if he really wants to get you. So that's why it's creepy in my mind. But he's also
Exactly.
just a brilliant actor.
Yeah, and
And Sam Raimi.
Sam
Sorry.
Raimi.
Yeah.
And I say I know you just watched the Evil Dead films too, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned like earlier too. How did you first get into martial arts? And as far as having that martial arts background, I'm sure that definitely helps as far as doing stunts and stuff like that. So how has that kind of helped you as an actor, like up to this point?
Martial arts helped me in a lot of ways. I started martial arts very young. I've been doing it for nearly 20 years. So my whole life I've been doing it. I just really loved Bruce Lee growing up, and I really loved Jackie Chan. And I just was like, I want to be like that. I wanted really badly to be in martial arts films, like comedy martial arts films, like Rush Hour or something, like something Jackie Chan would do. So that was one of the main reasons why I did it. Not so much because I wanted to fight, not so much that I wanted to, I don't know. I just wanted to perform. I wanted to know how to do those techniques and perform them to show other people. And I started with Taekwondo, and then I branched out once I met other martial artists who had specialties in different kinds, like Kun Khmer or Muay Thai or Capoeira or Wushu, Kung Fu. So I tried it all. I dipped my toes into all of it. And it's really helped me be a more disciplined person. I remember like starting and then my grades in like school, like I went from being a class clown to a respectable student very quickly. Which, has its ups and downs. I think there's something very good about being a class clown, and I think that's a very charming trait. But I actually cared about my future after doing martial arts. And it's helped me be a more active person. It's helped me be more in tune with my body. And I'm definitely more confident. I've been told that I have a certain walk because of it. Like I know I can carry myself differently than maybe if I hadn't done it. There's a confidence that goes along with knowing how to defend yourself. So I'm definitely, I can walk with my head up higher. And also with film, I can do my own stunts because I know how to do it. I know how to fall. I know how to pretend to take a hit. I know how to throw a proper hit. So it's been beneficial to me in a lot of ways, but mainly I think the biggest benefit has been what it has done for me mentally.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting just hearing you like talk about that, and like so not even just like acting, but I mean just like your overall everyday life. It's helped you out in like a number of different ways. So I feel like that's a very helpful skill. Like now it's like maybe I'm gonna go out and learn some like martial arts now.
I recommend it. Even like I said, I'm not a fighter. I do not want to fight anybody. And I think that's the common misconception. People are like, well, it's because you're trying to get into a fight. No, it's because it's beautiful. It's beautiful to witness. And it just feels good to be in tune with your body. I do a lot of kickboxing now, and I hit a heavy bag, and it's so cathartic to just hit at like heavy bag as hard as you can, because we can't just go around hitting people as much as we might like to. So if you can take your anger out in a bag, you just go leaving with a smile, and you're like, wow, this is going to be a good day. So I highly recommend it. You get a lot of, bent up energy and frustration out that you don't even realize that you have from stress. So I recommend it. So try it. I think you'll like it.
I can imagine. There's definitely some days where I'm sure I could use like a punching bag or a kicking bag or something. So yeah, especially this year. So now, and you talked a little bit about the horror community and people being like so nice. I'm just curious, what is your experience just been like with them overall, like up to this point? Being kind of thrust into the community with this character. I believe like from what I've seen, kind of like your first real time like getting like a complete like horror role. So what has it been like with them up to this point?
Well, I'll tell you in the beginning, and I don't think I've told anybody else this besides Damien, but when it was announced that I got the part last year, I got a couple messages from strangers saying like, you better not fuck this up. And I was like, whoa, okay, I won't. I don't think I responded to them, but I remember getting a couple messages like, don't screw this up. And I was just like, okay. But ever since, it's been really nothing but love. I've been getting a lot of support from people that I wouldn't have met otherwise. And I've also found that the horror community is like filled with beautifully strange people, and those are my favorite kind of people. I didn't even realize there was a horror community before this, because I would consider myself someone that would want to be in a horror community because I can appreciate it and I love everything spooky and scary and Halloween and autumn. So when I found them, I was like, oh my God, these are my people. And we have the same interests and we have the same taste. And so I feel really at home. And I feel like I've been missing out on just a whole entire community of people that I should have been a part of from the get-go. So it's been pretty surreal. And I'm very grateful for everybody I've met because everybody so far has just been beautifully fantastic.
Oh, they're definitely. I was gonna say when you started off with that story, they're definitely a pretty passionate. I would say
Passionate bunch.
probably, yeah. They're definitely. I would say probably some of the most passionate fans, at least like I've like come across in the whole nerd fandom stuff like that. I would say horror is definitely like way up there. So, but that's funny, but at the same time, it's like some people maybe taking it a little too far.
Hey, you know what? I get it. Like, I think I would feel the same way if there was going to be a remake of something that I absolutely loved, and if I saw an actor I'd never heard of before, I'd be like, I better not fuck it up because I love that movie. I mean, just like when you see a remake of anything, like, oh, please don't screw it up,
Yeah.
please. So I get it. Like, I wasn't really hurt. I was just taken aback. I was like, oh,
Whoa.
okay. I guess I really got to work hard for this person in particular. And I think I did. So hopefully that person, who I forget who it was, I don't even know if I would remember the name. Hopefully if they do see the film, they'll say, oh, okay, she worked hard.
Did a
So
good job. Yeah, no, I think that from what we've heard and seen so far, Terrifier 2, I think that they'll be very happy with the results.
I hope so.
Now, kind of going from one genre to the next, you actually mentioned recently that you have a Christmas film coming up, which I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. No, I imagine obviously you can't go into a lot of details of that. It's called A Taste of Christmas. What can you tell fans about the project?
Yeah, I can tell fans that I got the notification for the audition like the first day on set at Terrifier.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like the first day. So, and also my character is an Italian woman from Italy. So I had to speak Italian. I had to speak with an Italian accent. So I'm on set, like going over the lines in Italian as they're doing my hair to make me into Sienna because I had to do the self-tape like the day after because it was filmed in Georgia. So it was like 2 days before Halloween. I get this Christmas thing and I'm like, okay, let me learn this. I really wasn't expecting that I would get the part. And then I did. And then I had to go to Georgia in December. So I had to stop what I was doing in Terrifier. And they were very flexible with me. I was really fortunate. Damien worked with me. So I stopped what I was doing, went to Georgia, stayed there for about a month, did my thing, and then came right back. And I think like the day or two after I came back, I was back on the set of Terrifier. So I do this thing that I learned from Mahershala Ali. It's an actor I really love and I listen to often. He makes playlists for his characters, especially when he's playing more than one character in the same time span. He was like on House of Cards and also his Oscar-winning role in Moonlight. And in order to be able to play both of those characters, he had different playlists that he believed that those characters would listen to. So the character for the Christmas movie was easy. I just listened to all my Italian music. But for Sienna, I was like, hey, Damien, can you make a playlist for me for Sienna? And he did. He was like psyched about it. He was like, yeah, absolutely. So he made a playlist mostly consisting of Fleetwood Mac because that's his favorite band. And I have developed an even deeper passion and appreciation for Fleetwood Mac because of him. I love Stevie Nicks, but also like Pat Benatar, Marilyn Manson, the Gin Blossoms, like just beautiful array of music that helped me understand Sienna a bit more. So
wow,
that's how I dealt with it.
That's really cool. And I was going to say Mahershala Ali, the next Blade, which I'm super excited to see once they get that going because I know, like, with everything being pushed back, I'm not sure when they're going to start. But yeah, I was really excited to see him cast as that. But that's cool. That I always love hearing those like kind of like behind the scenes stories and how so he did that, and that's kind of something that you took from him. As far as like the playlists and stuff go. So that's really cool and some good music in there.
Very good music. I thank God for Damien because he just has a great taste in it. He loves yacht rock. He always says, and I didn't even know what that was until he like explained it to me. I'm like, oh, it's like Hall and Oates. That's yacht rock, and he's like, yeah, it's more than that. But
We'll go with
so
that.
it consisted of a lot of yacht rock and punk rock, and it was great. I still listen to it. Love that playlist.
And now, to wrap things up for you, Lauren, is there anything else that you would want to say to the fans out there to wrap up the interview?
Oh my gosh, so many things. I mean, I would first of all thank them for even being fans. Thanks for caring. I would say watch Terrifier if you haven't yet. Watch the teaser trailer for Terrifier 2 and keep up on the news for Terrifier 2. Follow at Terrifier2 underscore official on Instagram. Follow Terrifier 2 on Facebook. I think those are the only two official social media accounts. And follow Damien, follow David, follow me if you want to. I'm at Lauren Lavera. And yeah, just keep your eyes peeled for what's to come because I really think that you're going to appreciate it. Terrifier 2 is going to be it's going to be something.
Well, thank you again, Lauren, so much for coming on the show today. I really appreciate it. I know you've had a pretty crazy schedule, so glad we were able to finally make this happen. I really, truly appreciate it.
Thank you for being so flexible and for having me. I loved being here. It was a blast. Hi, I'm Lauren Lavera. I play Sienna in Terrifier 2, and you're watching Pop Culture with Pat.